Yo, what's going on guys? It is AJ Bants here. Today we're going to be doing some FPS testing on the MSI Katana GF66. Now, this is the RTX version, so I am expecting to get high frames in the games we're going to be testing. So we're going to be testing out 4 games today. That is Dying Light 2, Rainbow Six Siege, Valheim, and of course Warzone, because everyone plays Warzone. So let's go ahead and jump into the laptop now. And also I just want to say, the testing we're going to do is going to be everything at max graphics settings. Every game we're going to be playing will be at max graphics settings. Just bear that in mind, because of course you'll get higher FPS rates if your graphics settings are a bit lower. But I want to push the graphics to the limit and see just how high these frame rates can stay. So here we are on Warzone. I'm going to go ahead and load into a game. But before we do, I want you to keep an eye on that FPS counter in the top left corner. You can see we're sitting at around the high 60s, sometimes getting into 50s, and also sometimes dropping down to the 50s. But let's go ahead and load into a game and see if that picks up or it goes even lower. Okay, so we're just in pre-game lobby and you can see that the FPS counter has jumped up. We're sitting at 102 FPS, jumping up to around 115, 120. We're going to go ahead and wait until we come out of the pre-game lobby and get into the actual game, because FPS rates are going to be lower in pre-game lobby just because there's so many people in like such a small section of the map. Okay, so we are now in game and we can see our frame rates are sitting at that same amount. I thought that they might go up once we get into an actual game, but they're sitting right around 100 frames per second, sometimes dropping just below that as you just saw to around 99, and also jumping above to around 115, sometimes 120. Again, bear in mind I have got of course recording software running on the laptop, which makes the FPS drop down. Normally when I'm playing the game I get around 130 FPS, but yeah, recording software does make it drop down a little bit. And also this is with ray tracing enabled, everything is set to ultra. So I would say 100 FPS with ray tracing enabled and everything set to ultra high. Also taking into account we've got recording software running in the background, I would say 100 frames per second is pretty good. But let's go ahead now and move into our next game, and that is Rainbow Six Siege. Okay, so we've got Rainbow Six Siege loaded up. So jumping back into the laptop, and as you can see in the bottom left hand corner, we're currently at 144 FPS. So if we click around, just make sure it's working properly. Yep, as you can see it is moving when we click into different screens. But it's staying pretty stable at 144 FPS. Now let's go ahead and jump into a game. We'll just go into a quick match. Okay, so here we are in the actual game, and wow, surprisingly the FPS has actually increased. We're getting around 200 frames per second. It's dropping down sometimes to about 190, but we're just walking through here just to see. Yeah, we're staying at a nice solid 225, 230. I'm very impressed. We are staying pretty consistent around the 200 mark. It is occasionally, as you can see now, dropping below to around 150. I would say that's a big dub. And again, everything on this is also set to max graphics, ultra high, with all the ray tracing and everything turned on. So 200, even 150 that is occasionally dropping down to, I am very happy with that. But let's go ahead now and move on to our next game, and that is Valheim. All right, here we have Valheim loaded up. And for those of you who don't know, Valheim's like an open world RPG game. Really, really nice art style. If you haven't heard of it, definitely go check it out. Definitely worth it. It's such a cool game. And as I said, the art style is amazing. I love this game. But as you can see, right now we are at 59 FPS in the loading screen. We're loading into a game right now, so let's see if that decreases or increases or stays the same. Here we are, we're in game now. And the same for everything else. I've got everything set to max, ultra high as it can possibly get. And so we are running around here. And you can see we're getting about 80 FPS, sometimes 90. Lower than the other games, but it's to be expected when you're playing massive open world RPG games. There's so much more to render around you. So 80 FPS, not too bad. I wouldn't normally play this game on those kind of graphic settings anyways. And as long as it's above 60, I ain't complaining. Could it be better? Of course it could, but again, it's a gaming laptop. You can only expect so much out of it. And I would say, honestly, 80 FPS, I'm happy with it. Especially when you're playing a game like this, you don't really need super high FPS. But now let's move on to Dying Light 2, a game that I personally love, and a game that is very graphically intensive. So let's see if the GPU can keep up with it. Okay, here we are on Dying Light 2, and as you guys can see in the top left-hand corner again, the FPS is sitting at about 60, 65. I think we're occasionally getting up to 70, but yeah, it's sitting more around the 60 range, which again isn't bad. It's exactly what I expected. Like I said, the same thing for Valheim. This is a massive open world game. There's so much more to render. There's so much more going on that it's of course going to be more graphically intensive. But just look at how beautiful that looks. And it's running right now 75 FPS, as we're just not really moving around that much. And it looks absolutely stunning. Now, I have completely forgot how to play this game, otherwise I would jump across. I don't even know what button to use to do that. So I'm not going to attempt to do it right now. But yeah, Just want to show you guys the game runs very smooth at 60 FPS. Again, is cool. And like I said, for everything else, it is at max graphic settings. So you have to expect slightly lower FPS. In general, people don't normally play games at max settings just so they can get a bit higher FPS. But a game like Dying Light 2, which is story-based, you don't need insanely high frame rates. You're not going up against people, it's not a competitive game. It's story-based, like I said, so you can live with 60 frames per second, 70 frames per second occasionally if you want to play at max graphic settings. Of course, you could lower them down to be max, you could just put them on high. I've got everything set to very high and ultra, basically as high as it can possibly go, which is why the frames are lower than they would normally be if I was playing the game. But again, I'm happy with it. It hasn't let me down. I'm very glad that it hasn't let me down because I've spent some money on this laptop and I would be disappointed if it couldn't even run games at a decent frame rate and actually look nice whilst doing it. One of the issues that I'm having with my computer is that it is quite outdated. It's got a 1050 Ti in it, so although I'm able to run pretty much every game, I need to run all those games at low graphic settings, and still I struggle to get 60 FPS on that, which is why I'm so happy that I can run games at max graphic settings and still get higher FPS than I get on my gaming PC, which is crazy. But I did buy my gaming PC a long time ago, so I have to give it that. I will be buying a new graphics card very soon. We'll have some new upgrades on it. Stay tuned for that. And that is pretty much it for the video, guys. I wanted to do an FPS test for a while now. I thought I might as well make a video out of it so you guys can see as well if you're looking to buy a laptop, specifically the MSI Katana GF66. Like I said in the beginning, this is the RTX 3070 version. There is different variants. I think there's a 3050, 3060, and there's a 3080 as well. And I believe there's a 3070 Ti too. So you can even go higher if you want to get even more out of the laptop. But of course, the price goes up with the graphics cards. But yeah, that is it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on bell notifications. Cover little content just like this. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.